Mark, and a warm welcome to Media for Growth. Thank you so much for joining us for this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Mark, when it comes to your organization, Doohclick, Dukeclick sees itself as the most definitive OH platform that helps to integrate sales, planning, playing, analytics, revenue sharing, and reporting into one smooth workflow. But in more recent times, you have seen a number of other platforms coming up which are offering some or all of these value propositions to the business. I'd like to know from you what really makes Dukeclick stand out in the midst of all of these developments.
Well, yes, I mean, that's a very relevant question, and thanks for asking that. The most important differential, as far as we're concerned, is us as people and the people that have developed the system. I mean, we come from a completely different background to our competitors in as much that we are media owners through and through. That's our background. So we think and talk like a media owner as opposed to a software provider. Dukeclick is a multi-tenanted system, so we offer many platforms under one umbrella. So in effect, what we're doing, we're enabling our customers to focus on the sales and development of iconic sites and let us do all the boring parts in the background. Because we've been in the media world and we understand the stresses and strains of being a media owner, we recognize those factors and we're always predicting those factors going forward. So we're very well placed to make sure that everything that's covered off within that environment is so from an experience rather than a theoretical point of view.
Right. Mark, it's generally seen that platforms that come up seem to be offered by technology companies, ad tech companies. In your case, as you've defined, you're a media owning business. So how does its acceptance in the broader market work for you?
How do what, sorry?
How does it get accepted in the market compared to those kind of solutions that ad tech companies typically offer?
Well, I think people recognize quite quickly on that we are talking the same language as them, in effect. We don't put a square peg in a round hole. Dukeclick was developed over 12 years ago by Ad City Media in Scandinavia. And it was a very brave decision to make in those days because there was nothing off the shelf that fitted their purposes. They wanted a multi-tenanted system that did everything in terms of proposals, scheduling, reporting, diagnostics, etc., all under one package. And it was a brave decision to make in those days to actually develop their own system. But that system now is widely used by Ocean Nordics and various other very large out-of-home media businesses throughout Europe and Africa, etc. And I think people want to use Dukeclick because they recognize it's built for purpose, it's fit for purpose, and it's been bespoke designed for a media business. We talk the same language as the media owner, and people recognize that and appreciate that. But I think what's important to add is that Dukeclick isn't simply a software package for a media owner. We're much more than that. We're a complete holistic solution to help all outdoor advertising companies on their journey, whether it's to do with assistance to do with what hardware to use, the environment they're working in, etc. So we actually do a lot more than just become a software provider. We're very much more than that.
All right, wonderful to know that, Mark. Your website suggests that you have operations in 9 countries. You're doing business in 9 countries.
Yep.
Particularly when you look at OH and DOH business, they're greatly conditioned by the local environment, and their requirements are also patterned to the local ways of doing business. So when you come to the market with a standard offering, how does it pan out in different markets?
Well, first and foremost, we don't do anything standard. We always make sure that our system fits the needs of the individual client in their individual market. So the first thing we do is listen. It's quite simple. We like to meet our clients. We like to understand exactly their stresses and needs and demands specific to their environment. And once we actually have that knowledge, we can then actually make sure that the product that we give them is perfect for their needs. However, as you well know, it's never going to be a finished product. Dukeclick's always going to be evolving and improving as time goes on. So we're constantly having to listen and make sure that our product is relevant to everyone's needs for their particular business.
All right. You use the word evolving, and which is very, very typical of what we're seeing in the ad tech space. You are really up with a lot of competition. And so what is it that helps you to stay ahead of that curve?
Well, again, I mean, we have an incredible team behind us. Our coders and developers are second to none. And most of them actually have learnt their trade within an out-of-home media environment. So they're always thinking specifically about out-of-home media, digital out-of-home media specifically. And that shows when people use our product. We don't want to have people who are developing completely random products which have nothing to do with out-of-home media. So we're very, very strict on ourselves in making sure that people fully buy into out-of-home media. They understand the environment, the industry, where it's going as an industry. And that, I think, is reflected in the product itself.
All right. Mark, when you look at a market and you have plans of foraying into those, what are the preconditions that you see before you make that entry? And I'd like you to also share your thoughts on, if you were to have any plans for the India market, what would those preconditions have to be?
Well, there's only one very simple precondition. Have you got lots of people who have ambition themselves? Are they entrepreneurial? Are there lots of billboard operators in that market? And India specifically is a case in point. India is a huge market with massive potential. It's a market that we greatly respect. We would like to be able to help on their journey. We're very much there for the common man, and we're a democratic business. We like to be disruptive, as you can see from my T-shirt. And a market whereby the predominant operators of out-of-home are classic billboard operators, for us, is actually a huge opportunity. That's why Doohclick actually accommodates classic billboards as well as digital out-of-home. That's a huge difference between us and the competitors that we work against. Because we believe that those people that are operating classic billboards today will be the same people that are converting to digital tomorrow. And we want to be on that journey from beginning to end. So yeah, absolutely, India is a target market. We're very excited about working within the Indian market. And we want to be part of that journey.
That's very, very interestingly put, and especially for a market like India, where the digital OH business is still at a very nascent stage. The majority of the media assets being those that are of the traditional formats. So for a business like yours, which is actually working with the classic formats as well, I think that opportunity looks pretty big. That said, when it comes to data capture is a very, very important aspect of applying technologies such as what you offer to the market. When it comes to digital out-of-home, well, we all know that data capture is so much easier and scientifically done. How does it work out when it comes to classic formats where that data capture is a lot more complex?
Well, as I said, I mean, we got to work with what we've got at the moment. And I think classic out-of-home is always going to be in demand for whatever reason. It's all about frequency and eyeballs. Whenever anybody wants to do a mass coverage FMCG type campaign, they're always going to look at, they're never going to dismiss classic billboards out of hand because they know there's going to be a value there. Yes, it's harder to measure the exact data in relation to that. However, there is more and more research being done in that area. I think the data that's being gathered is becoming a lot more relevant to the buying patterns of planners in the media world. And as I said, those platforms are being developed into digital over a period of time. And as time goes on, we are going to be developing systems that will reflect that. But I think what the challenge, I think, as an industry that we really do have to face, though, is that online worldwide is purchased in exactly the same way. Why isn't out-of-home media purchased in the same way worldwide? And that is the biggest challenge we have to face today. And what we want to do through Doohclick is to accommodate a industry standard whereby people can buy out-of-home media digitally, predominantly in the same way as people buy online. Until we meet that challenge, we're not going to be able to become we're not going to be able to take the market to the levels we want to get to and actually surpass online, in my view.
Oh, very, very interesting, Mark. In fact, you referred to a point that I would have wanted to discuss further, which is that we are actually moving in the direction of integrated planning and omni-channel marketing as well. So in developing the standards and solutions that you have, how much of that has been influenced by the way that digital media planning actually happens?
I think first and foremost, we've got to accept that we're witnessing the biggest global media revolution since online. The opportunities for out of home have never been more exciting. And we have to be very, very aware of what we need to do to make sure that we are continuously relevant in that marketplace. So Doohclick, we can actually enable all sorts of, we're a multifaceted system. We can accommodate programmatic and other systems. We work with people like HiveStack. So by using our system at an early level, whether it's classic billboards through to digital, will enable people to get themselves into that mindset, into that ecosystem, whereby when that transition happens, it's going to be a lot smoother than having to start from scratch at a later stage.
Well, when companies transition to a more tech-led kind of an environment and begin to embrace the kind of solutions that you offer, what level of preparation is called, are they required to be at in terms of the workforce and the orientation of the business?
Well, we have a huge resource in terms of customer liaison. We hold them, our onboarding process is a very, very comprehensive but simple process. We don't really mind whether a company, large or small, hasn't got the resource, because we can provide that for them. That's part of our role, we feel, is to actually support our customers to make sure that they can actually onboard and take on the technology as quickly and as smoothly as possible. A lot of the challenges that we face is to do with confidence. It's a bit like the times, people, we often think, oh yes, maybe if we change mobile telephone operators, we'd be getting a better deal, or indeed change banks or whatever it might be. But what holds people back is the nervousness about the actual transition itself. They don't want the disruption or the hassle or any disruption to their business. And so what we've done at Dukeclick, we've made sure that the transitional process is as smooth as possible, so there is no disruption to the business whilst they go through that transformation. And I think this is there's a great saying that goes that you never get sacked for choosing IBM. And I think that's very true. People sometimes feel safer going with a recognized business, even so they recognize the fact it's not ideal for their business needs. And we are the disruptor, as I say here, we're the disruptive out-of-home media solution. And our job is to make sure that people are getting the best product for their business at the given time. It evolves with their business, and they are confident in making that move. It's a brave move for some people. I think people are nervous about making that move, but we want to make sure that move is done as smoothly as possible to enable them to really get on with the jobs that really matter for them, which is sales and developing iconic sites, and then be part of that journey going forward.
Fantastic, Mark. That point about getting the best value from the investment that you refer to is a very vital one, and I think that's what actually raises the confidence of clients and companies to look at the kind of solutions that you offer. Would you like to illustrate, and this is indeed my final question to you, Mark, would you like to illustrate your assertion with any one or two instances where you saw the company is really benefiting from the kind of solutions that you offer, and perhaps at an industry level, what kind of an impact have you seen thus far?
Well, I can give you a very, very good example. AdCity Media in Sweden, they started approximately 12 years ago, a very, very small business, had a few screens, banners, classic, the normal sort of inventory that one would have at that stage of their life. And by developing Doohclick, they actually managed to come up with a very interesting solution whereby they could actually facilitate selling other people's screens. So it doesn't matter whether you've got 1 or 2 screens or 10 or 15, 20, they can all be sold under the same umbrella to the media planners, which makes the package a lot more attractive and easier to buy from a planner's perspective. That enabled the company to grow incredibly quickly over a relatively short period of time. So within 10 years, they were a NASDAQ listed business. They eventually were sold to Ocean and are now the biggest operator in Scandinavia. That's been a hugely successful story because of the system they had behind the scenes, which is Doohclick. Doohclick was doing all the back end, all the boring stuff, enabling them to focus on growing the business, getting iconic sites, growing sales, and actually at the same time, identifying screens that maybe they want to purchase and have in their inventory. So it's giving them due diligence at the same time. So there's so many different advantages to using Dukeclick than just a CMS. We're not just a CMS, we're many, many things besides. And we want to make digital out of home democratic. We want to make it disruptive. We want to help the smaller guys to grow their businesses as well as the larger guys. But India for us is definitely a major target for us because we believe all the things that we strive to achieve are within your market, within the Indian sentiment. And we're very, very excited about working within India.
Do you see Dukeclick playing its own part in this whole programmatic DOH business that is really taking deeper roots?
Absolutely. I mean, we're not an SSP, but we can facilitate it. We can work with it. We can actually help people on that journey. Programmatic's been something that's been talked about for so many years now. But as I said, you know, we need to, as an industry, agree standards that are common to everybody before we can really, really confront online in the way it should be. Because online, as far as I'm concerned, is great, fantastic, it works. It's never going to go away. But in the same way that people thought TV was always going to be the predominant media for the common person, we believe that digital out of home in particular is going to become the resurgent media. But if we're going to have a truly global solution that's going to meet those challenges, we have to have an industry standard that talks with the same voice. Of course, we're going to be competitive with that environment, but there have to be certain common denominators that everybody talks and breathes and articulates. And until we do that, we're not going to truly take the mantle away from online, in my belief. And Dukeclick can actually help facilitate that. You know, we can actually provide that solution for those people on that journey.
Wonderful, Mark. Do you see OOH stroke DOH getting to a double-digit share of the ad spend eventually?
Absolutely, I do. And it'll be happening sooner than we realize. But we do need to get ourselves around this headspace of talking with one voice on certain matters to actually challenge online and make sure that we are the predominant challenger in that way. Dukeclick is facilitator. We're disruptive, we're democratic, and quite frankly, you just need to Dukeclick it and you'll be fine.
Well, on that note, Mark, thank you so much for your perspectives and your account of how Dukeclick performs and what it has for the industry. I look forward to many more opportunities to talk to you, Mark, and have your perspectives on a variety of other subjects. But thank you so much for your time this afternoon. It was a pleasure talking to you.
And thank you very much for your time too.